What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. I just finished up my first solo playthrough of Dragonbane. I generated a random quest using the tools in the solo book, the Alone in Deepfall Breach book, and used the character that I had created during my Dragonbane deep dive video. I did have to change one of his skills out, and I had to get rid of two extra skills that I had accidentally added. But after my first playthrough, I am very happy with this product. This game played extremely smooth. It takes up very minimal table space for a solo RPG. As a matter of fact, for most of what I was doing, I just used the unfolded battle mat that is included in the box set. And I didn't use anything other than a pencil that was not included in the box set. My elven fighter was able to save the remains of his forgotten leader from goblin raiders. He met up with and traveled with for a short time a friendly orc who was sadly killed in their second battle after they had together slain the giant spider. He fell to the vile daggers of some rogue cultists that were in the abandoned temple ruins that they were exploring together. But at the end of the day, it felt like one of those 1980s go over to your buddy's house, roll some dice, and make up a story type of experiences. So I did that playthrough on my own, off camera, just to make sure that I was going to be comfortable with the rules. And next, I'm going to be doing one of the adventure hooks from the Alone in Deepfall Breach solo guide. So if you don't want to find out what happens in that, just don't watch this video, because after I get past this little introduction, that's what we're going to be doing. Keep in mind, these are just hooks. So my version of this adventure could end up being entirely different than yours. In fact, if it's not substantially different, then one of us is probably doing it wrong. But all of that being said, if you're still here, let's enjoy the adventures of Avelonia Gravemaker. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be playing my Dragonbane quest in my homebrew campaign setting, the Isle of Avelonia. And as such, I had to find a spot that would make sense in the context of the solo adventures as presented in the box set. And just so happens, they happen below a chapel. And I have a town in Avelonia that I've named Chapel Town. So appropriately, that is where my adventure is going to start. The nameless chapel stands at the edge of Deepfall Breach. Mortared stones of the structure have stood fast against time, wind, and calamity, but its stained glass windows lie scattered in shards, and the heavy oaken doors hang loose and creaking on ancient hinges. You are caught amid a torrential rain, so you slip inside, eager to escape both the downpour and the baleful red glow emanating from the depths of the breach. Inside the chapel casts a shadow of itself, rotting pews, piles of refuse, tattered tapestries depicting battles long forgotten. Candles lend their meager glow in flickering clusters, while fragrant smoke curls from incense burners. Maze-like etchings litter a large desk occupying the far wall. Maddening, aren't they? The gruff, weathered voice precedes a hunched form dislodging itself from the shadows. Silver streaks the coal-black fur of a wolfkin draped in ratty robes. He leans on a wicked-looking two-handed mace topped with a clenched steel fist. Numerous scars mark the wolfkin's lupin visage, with a stone sphere replacing his left eye. The breach, he continues, nodding towards the desk littered with labyrinthine maps. impossible to map with any accuracy. He introduces himself as Stonegaze, though he also supplies his true name, Ingolfer. The name is not unknown to you, but the Ingolfer of whom you've heard tell is a fearsome warrior and a famed hunter of demons, not an old hermit priest. Have you come back to delve the breach? He asks. There's good to be done, justice to be dealt, and riches to be uncovered, if you've the mettle for it. So after that brief introduction to Stonegaze and the chapel and the breach itself, you're granted a small introduction to how the mission system will work, and also what will happen if you take a break from the breach. You have the choice of creating custom missions from scratch, or you have a series of 5 missions that form a story arc together. And that's what we're going to start with today. We're going to start with number 1, the captive orc. The leader of a sect of demon cultists holds the Worldbreaker shard, the tip of the abyssal spears that split this land and created the breach. This power cannot stay in their grasp. Foul magics cloud their location from my sight, so you must locate the shard through other means. Seek below a band of cultists transporting a prisoner, an orc named Gorham. Gorham knows the location of the cultists' outposts and may serve as a valuable ally in the days to come. Beware, a trio of goblin scouts plunder the breach, looting ancient crypts and robbing any who wander across their path. That is the threat that will be sprung if we take too long to complete our mission. And then Stonegaze goes into describing what we will call the waypoints of our adventure. Number 1, the plunging path. A sloping corridor carries you into the oppressive depths of the breach. Tread softly, lest you wake the creatures of fang and wing nesting within the cracks and hollows of this ancient passage. Number 2, charred tomb. Fire long ago ravaged this once grand mausoleum. It holds 5 remaining sarcophagi amid piles of ash. Find your path through a door hidden within one of these coffins, but disturb not the scorched dead, nor the hidden trap. Then he has 2 parts of his map that are incomplete. Those will be unknown waypoints, which we will generate randomly when we get to that point. Then we get to number 5, the fiendish altar. The cultists take refuge here with their prisoner. My sight cannot glean their aims, but the blood-stained altar at the center of this chamber has seen countless deaths at the hands of those seeking parley with demonic forces. But I sense fear, hesitation in these cultists. They'll not die needlessly for their cause, I suspect. Free Gorham from their clutches. Now this first adventure is going to go well with what I've established already in my setting, as well as my initial random adventure that I ran off camera. You see in that random adventure, my character, the elf, known as the Gravemaker, visited a temple and ran into some cultists. And actually, some of the cultists ended up killing an orc friend that he had made on his journey. So, him coming to the rescue of an orc chieftain kind of sets up that maybe he has some natural kinship to the orcs. After all, he's far more strong and has better constitution than he has agility, which would be more common for his people. Also, as far as my setting goes, I had established that there was an influential organization in Avalonia called El Muerto de Art, which in this world is a group that is dedicated to bringing about the return of Mordred. So that is a distinct possibility of what these cultists are up to. Either way, should make for an interesting adventure. All right, so the first waypoint was the plunging path. So just as a reminder, that one said a sloping corridor carries you into the oppressive depths of the breach. Tread softly, lest ye wake the creatures of fang and wing, sounds like maybe spiders and bats, nesting within the cracks and hollows of this ancient passage. So the first thing I'm going to do, as my character, the Gravemaker, makes his way down the passage, is I'm going to roll for some details of the passage. And for that, I'm going to go to page 9 of the solo book, and I'm going to grab my d20, and I'm going to roll contents and environment this time. And for contents, I got a natural 20. I found a wandering adventurer, and for environment, I got an 11, which is glowing crystals. So I have found an individual adventurer, and I've found some glowing crystals. There is a table in the solo book that tells what a reaction is. Now, I think finding a lone wandering adventurer out here, chances are they're going to be more friendly to me, just because I am not an immediate threat. So you roll on the fortune chart to see what a reaction is. And in this case, if I think that it is more likely than not, I will roll with a boon, which is like an advantage. So I'll roll 2d6 and I'll keep the one that's better for me. So I'm going to ask the Oracle, what is the reaction of this adventurer? I'll keep the higher of the two rolls. I got a 3 and a 5, so 5 is open. So open is not friendly, but it is 2 steps away from hostile. So I am going to approach with care this adventurer and hail him and see if he will perhaps give me his name. And so first off, I need to figure out what type of adventurer this is, and then to do that, I'm going to roll randomly from the character creation tables. And rolling for a random kin, I got a 7, which is a halfling. Cool. And we'll roll for a name. Got a 2. Brine. The halfling Brine. And then I will roll a profession randomly. And got a 5. A halfling knight named Brine. I went ahead and grabbed a standee that seemed appropriate for the halfling knight that will go right along with the standee that I have for my elven fighter. There is my elven fighter. So I think there is a better than average chance that Brine is here in search of riches. And that being the case, I am going to approach him with that in mind, and I'm going to suggest that we work together, and I will split any of the items that we find with him. And we're going to go ahead and roll persuasion, but since I'm offering him something, I'm going to get a boon on that. So I'm going to roll 2 d20s and we'll see what happens. My persuasion skill is up to a 5 because I raised it the last time I played. You will get to raise lots of your skills as you play this game, because every time you roll a dragon or a demon, that would be a 1 or a 20, when using a skill, you mark it and you get a chance to raise it. Then additionally, in the solo game, you get to choose 5 more skills at the end of every adventure to have a chance to raise. So I'm going to roll with a boon, and I failed on both. I got a 10 and a 13. I needed a 5 or less.
I got news for you, pal. You ain't leading but 2 things right now. Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
So I think what this means is that perhaps the halfling knight Brine is not convinced that I will improve his chances. He's seen other adventurers try and fail to traverse similar situations, and he wants to make sure that I am capable. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to try to clear a way for us to move on. The adventure intro talked about the fangs of the potential threats and the wings of the potential threats. And I think we're going to work towards the fang side of things. And as my character has already fought one in the past, I am going to try to kill the giant spider that guards one of the entrances to the rest of the cavern. And so what we're going to do now, we're going to run a combat so that I can access the next waypoint. It said that I had to be quiet to pass without gathering their attention anyways. Well, my sneak skill is not good, and I get a bane on it because I'm wearing chainmail. So I may as well take this thing head on. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with Brian just as an observer. And each round that I survive, Brian will have an opportunity to decide whether he wants to help or not. And if I'm successful, then I think it's very likely that I'm going to convince him that he wants to join me. So we've got initiative cards marked 1 through 10. And my character has a skill called Army of One. It's only available in solo play, and it allows you to take 2 initiative cards and 2 turns each round. So I am going to draw 2 initiative cards for myself. You want lower. And I'm going to draw 1 for the spider. So he's going to be going first, which is actually not a bad thing because I didn't want to have to waste a turn running up to get to the spider at any rate. So the spider will be acting first. And then I'm not drawing a card for Brian because at the end of the turn, I'll let him decide whether he is going to engage or not. Actually, you know what? I am going to draw one. Since the spider's going first, there is a chance that the spider would attack Brian, though I am a larger target, so I think it would be more likely the spider would attack me. So I've pulled up the page with the giant spider stats. This table here determines what the spider will do, and I should keep in mind I cannot parry the spider's attacks because it's a monster. I can only evade, and my evade skill stinks. So he's got a ferocity of 2, so I actually need to draw a second card for the spider. He will act twice in the round. And he has a movement of 24 and hit points of 36. This could get ugly if the halfling does not decide to join. So we're going to go to his first action, which is at 2, and he can move up to 24, which is 12 spaces, so he easily gets up here. And we'll say on a 3 to 6, he's going to attack me first. He does not, though. He sees the halfling. Perhaps the halfling has made a tasty meal for him in the past, and this one looks similar. So the spider will roll what attack happens. He got a 6, a ramming attack. So he immediately charges up at full speed. With a great leap, the spider launches its massive body at the player character. The attack inflicts 2 to 6 bludgeoning damage and knocks the victim down. Yikes. So 8 damage. We're going to say that the halfling knight has the stats of a guard, and he's wearing leather armor, so he'll only take 7, not the full 8, but that leaves him with only 5 hit points left. So I'm going to write that down. Well, Brian really has no choice but to join me now. So he's going to stand up, which is a free action in this game, but it has to be done on your turn. And he is going to attack back with his broadsword. And his sword skill is a 12. He got a crit. The dragon is a 1, which is a crit. So he is quite capable. So Brian gets to roll 46. And I'm not going to give him a strength bonus since he's a halfling. But 46 damage is pretty significant. So he did 12 damage to the spider. Okay, so that is Brian's turn. He is quite capable, apparently. But the spider gets another turn because he has a ferocity of 2. So with his second turn, he gets a 3. Mesmerizing eyes. The monstrous arachnid stares at the player characters with a terrifying multitude of eyes. All victims within 10 meters must make a will roll to resist fear. And I will roll for Brian first. A standard roll would be a 5 or less. I'm going to say he's brave since he is a halfling and also he is a knight. I'm going to give him a 7 or less. He still failed. And then I'm going to roll for my own hero, the elf, and I succeeded. I needed a 5 or less, I got a 4. So, I am not under the effects of fear, but Brian is. Perhaps the massive amount of damage he took on the first roll is what caused that. And I rolled an 8 for his fear result, which is wild panic. In a fit of utter panic, you flee the scene as fast as you can. On your next turn, you must dash away from the source of your fear. Make another will roll on each subsequent turn, not an action, to stop running and act normally again. Okay, so Brian is going to run away. That is his thing. But I have some actions. So I'm going to be able to activate now. Perhaps he's afraid because not only he took the damage, but also he gave probably the best sword blow he's ever delivered, and the spider is still moving strongly. So with my movement action, I am not going to move, but I am going to attack the spider. And I rolled a 19, which is not going to be good. I am a 15 in swords, which is quite good. I'm going to go ahead and push my roll. And what I'm going to say is that I am going to take the angry condition. That will give me a bane on any intelligence rolls. But I get to roll again now. And I got a 2, which is definitely going to hit. So I'm going to get my 2d6 plus a d4 in damage. And I did 12 damage to the spider. So that puts the spider at 24 damage taken of his 36 hit points. And I get another action because I have the Army of One ability. So I'm going to go ahead and flip that and take another action. And I got another 2. That is great. So I'm going to roll damage again. Not quite so good that time. So 5 damage on my second roll. So he has taken, the spider being he, has taken 29 points of damage. He is badly hurt. And I think that probably the reason that my second swing with my sword was not as effective is I am so angry that I am fighting with passion instead of presence. And so that was the end of a turn. So now, or round rather, so now we are going to redraw initiative cards. I have a skill or a heroic ability called a veteran, which I could use a willpower point to keep one of my initiative cards from before. I could actually use it twice and keep both. But my initiative was not that good, so I would rather redraw. So we're going to draw 2 for me, 7, 8. I should have kept them. We're going to draw for Brian, who's going to be running away, and the spider, who's apparently going to be going first. So the spider has to choose who it's going to attack. And I think as an animal, it senses Brian's fear, so it's going to attack him first. So we're going to roll its attack, and got a 5 on the spider chart. A 5 is a web attack. The spider fixes its numerous eyes on the player character with highest strength. Oh, I guess that will be me. Never mind. It's going to go after me. The next moment, it spits its sticky spider web at the victim, who must make an evade roll, not an action. On a failure, the victim is caught in the web and unable to move. It takes a successful strength roll with a bane to break free. Others can help. So we're going to roll, and I actually get a bane on this because I am wearing chainmail armor, which gives me a bane on evades. That was a really terrific roll, and it actually succeeded. I have a 10 in evade, so I succeeded. I am not webbed. That is phenomenal. I did not expect that. So the spider is going to go again. Since I rolled randomly, since I determined that it would be attacking the halfling if there was a choice, we're going to roll for that and assume that this time. And it's going to make another ramming attack, trying to finish off the halfling. Now the halfling, having an action left, it said that on his turn he has to run away, but I don't see where he couldn't use his action out of turn to try to defend himself, and I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to try to make an evade roll. And so with his evade roll, he has to roll a 10 or less, and then I'll roll for the spider. So it doesn't matter because the halfling failed the evade roll. If he had succeeded, if the halfling had rolled under his, or equal to or under his evade, I would have rolled a d20 for the spider to see if it was lower than what the halfling rolled. Since the halfling failed his evade, the spider just hit him. Monsters don't roll to hit unless you have to roll for an evade check. So the spider is going to do 2d6 bludgeoning damage, 7 damage, and knock him down.
You knocked him down. Why don't you try knocking me down now?
And he's knocked out. So that is the spider's turn done. And now we are back to Erwilnor, the Gravemaker. So with my first action, I'm going to swing my mighty broadsword, and I hit, and I get to roll 2d6 plus a d4, 9, 11 damage. That is enough to fell the spider.
You worthless piece of slime!
Now I'm going to say, since this is still the same turn that the halfling was knocked down, normally NPCs, basically they go to 0, they're dead. But I've got another turn, and this is the same turn the halfling was knocked unconscious. I'm going to try to make a heal check to save him. Maybe this could be the start of a good friendship here. And I made it. I got a 4. So my healing is an 8. I got a 4. So I am going to heal the halfling for 9 hit points. So he is back up, and I don't think I even have to roll. I think he's convinced of my value, and he is going to be happy to try to repay me for my saving of his skin. One of the things that I forgot to do, I forgot to put this die out here. Now that die is the threat die, and that is going to track how close we are to triggering the threat that is associated with this particular adventure. In this case, it's a trio of goblins. So I didn't have any major failures there. In fact, that was actually quite a good outcome for my group. I was able to kill the spider and save the halfling, so I'm not going to advance at this time. I am, however, going to do something else that you can only do in the solo game, which is I'm going to roll on the scavenge table. So I'm going to roll. I get a 4. Nothing of note. But I could try to spot hidden, or have the halfling try to spot hidden. My spot hidden is not very good. So instead, we are going to continue down the path of least resistance, which is the main route that that Stone Gaze provided us. And on to waypoint number 2. As a reminder, waypoint number 2 was a charred tomb. Fire long ago ravaged this once grand mausoleum. It holds 5 remaining sarcophagi amid piles of ash. Find ye a path through a door hidden within one of these coffins, but disturb not the scorched dead nor the hidden trap. Okay, so here I am actually using something that didn't come in the box. I had these print and fold sarcophagi that were already in my box of goodies, so I decided to grab those out. So there's many ways that you could interpret this. So it says that there's like living dead within some of these, there's a secret passage in one of them, and there's also a trap in one of them. So we could be looking at spot hidden rolls. We could be looking at fighting up to as many as 3 skeletons. We'd be looking at dealing with a trap. And there's tables for traps in here. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to see if the halfling is particularly good at spotting hidden. And I think there's a likelihood that he is, because he's clearly not a talented warrior that he would be out here on his own. So maybe he is good at finding traps and things of that nature. So I'm going to ask the Oracle with a boon. And he is not. Actually, he's just really brave or foolish. So he's average at the finding of hidden things. So we're going to go ahead and try to do it ourselves. We're going to make a spot hidden roll to try to find out which of these sarcophagi would be the one holding the stairs downward. Now, it might seem natural that it would be the one set off by itself, but they could also just be set up as a ploy to try to get you to go that way and trap you. So I do think if we choose one that has a skeleton, all the skeletons are going to come out. So let's go ahead and do the spot hidden roll. And I got a 14. One thing I did forget to do, I did not take a rest between my last action. So we didn't rest, so I didn't say that, so I'm going to keep my angry condition. If I would have rested, a stretch rest, I could get rid of a condition. Actually 2 because I'm an elf. So we're going to go ahead and push that roll. And I am going to take the dishearten condition, which will give me a bane on... Oh, I already have a bane on this because of... Yikes, I got to roll a second die before I push it. Yeah, so I can't push it actually because I got a bane, or a demon.
Son of a bitch must pay.
So I forgot, since I did not rest, which I should have, I still had the angry condition, which gave me a bane on any intelligence rolls. Well, spot hidden is an intelligence roll. So when I rolled my second die for the bane, I got a demon. Now, getting a demon means you cannot push the roll. You're stuck with that roll. Also, since I rolled a demon, I get to mark spot hidden. So in this game, like many of Free League's games, you can learn by failing or succeeding. There's something to be learned from both. So since I got a demon, which is supposed to be a really bad result, I think I triggered the trap and it's going to wake up the skeletons. So we're going to say I pushed off the lid to that sarcophagi and I got a trap. I'm going to roll for the type of trap. And on the trap table, an 18 plus is roll twice, ignoring the first result. So this is not looking good. So a 17 and a 9. So an unleashed foe and piercing spikes. So with the piercing spikes, that is going to be some damage. Now, how much damage, I don't know. I'm going to roll randomly for the type of damage. And on that, a 4 is moderate, so that's 2d6 damage. So I'm going to make an evade check, but I get a bane on it because I'm wearing chainmail. And I failed. So I'm going to take 2d6 damage from spikes. 10 damage, my goodness. But I subtract 4 because of my chainmail. So I take 6 damage, ouch, and I'm unleashing a foe. So I think probably what that means is it wasn't just the trap, it was another skeleton in there. So we're going to have 4 skeletons to face, as well as having taken the damage from the trap. And I just want to point out that the standees are quite nice for this game, and there were actually 3 skeletons in the base box, and this guy in armor, you can't tell if he's a skeleton or not. So there's lots of good options in there. They are detailed enough to be interesting, but they're vague enough to be used for multiple things. Now, since I rolled a demon on that last check, I'm also going to raise the threat meter, not by 1, but by 2. I feel like I've made a lot of commotion, what with my scream from the spike trap that popped out of the sarcophagus, and then all of these skeletons rising to defeat me. So what we're going to do now is start another combat. And in order to do that, I am going to draw some initiative cards. As before, I'm going to start with my character and draw 2 for him, and his continued bad draws for initiative are a little disappointing. I did get a 2 on the second one. Now we're going to get the halfling, which got a 1. He continues to do well there. And we're going to draw 1 for the bad guys. They're going at 5. And there is the book entry for the skeletons. Looks like they're going to have a movement of 8, studded leather, which reduces 2 damage. They are going to be having 8 hit points and using short swords. So there we go. All right, we'll start with the halfling. He is going to go ahead and attack the skeleton next to him. And he got a 10, so that's going to hit. He'll do 2d6 damage, which is 8 damage, which would be enough to kill them, except for the fact that they've got studded leather, so he's got 2 hit points left. So this one here is almost dead. Then we're going to go to me with number 2, and I'm going to attack the one next to me. I got a 13, I've got a 15 for the skill, so that's going to be a success. And I got 7, which goes to 5, so he's got 3 hit points left. Now the skeletons, going at 5, we're going to attack with this one next to the halfling first. Move these over. Failed. Okay. And then the other skeleton here is going to move up. He's going to attack the halfling. He hits. Now, reminder, I could have swapped initiative cards with the halfling and been able to keep my my action to evade or parry. But I feel like because they have numbers, that's a losing game. Now, the skeletons technically could have done the same thing, but typically mindless monsters are going to be more aggressive. This is just to let you know how the rules work. A lot of times strategically, you're going to want to go second so you can see if they hit you. If they don't, you're free to use your attack. If they do, you have a chance to evade or parry if you want to. Now for the first skeleton that is on the elf. Failed. And the second skeleton moving up and gets a crit.
Prepare to meet Kali.
Oh my. So now I could use my remaining action to attempt to evade or parry this. The only issue is, since he got a crit, the only thing I could get that would evade or parry this is another crit. That's a 5% chance. I don't think I like my odds. So instead, I'm just going to take it on the chin. So he's going to roll 2 d10 damage to me. 8 and 9, 17 damage.
Smoke if you got him.
-4 is going to leave me with 13 damage. And I already took some damage prior from the spike trap. That puts me unconscious. I'm out. Wow. Okay, so that was Dragonbane.
It's got a death curse.
Things don't always go as you expect. And, you know, there is some emphasis in the solo rules about failing forward, not allowing something that is a single action failure to completely stop the game. And I think if these were bandits or a living creature, then I would be comfortable saying, you know, maybe they tied me up and I wake up back at their encampment and I have to try to escape or something of that nature. But with this being mindless undead, I feel like they were set here just to defend this place, and I think they just let me die. And I don't think the halfling is going to be capable of taking 4 skeletons on his own. So I think this is the end of our adventure. Now, despite its short nature in this instance, I hope that you get a chance to see how the system works, what's good about it, what you might like, what you might not like. But I will tell you, I really like this system. As I said, this was my second adventure with this character, and I will be creating another character to replace this fallen one, and maybe I'll even play it through the same story. But even though the Gravemaker has made his own grave now, I believe this was a success in that I was able to get some time at the table, and I was able to share a little bit about how the game of Dragonbane works with you guys. So that's the end of this video. If you did enjoy the content, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.